After a small sell-off earlier in the morning, along with the rest of the cryptocurrency market, the price of XRP surged on Thursday. But take note, on Thursday, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq 100, and the S&P 500 all reached fresh all-time highs. The Russell 2000 is another item that must be expanded if you want alts to go. No alternative season has ever seen the Russell 2000 small-cap equities grow outside of the market. The Russell 2000 is just 1.6% away from reaching its all-time high, and it reached its greatest level in 2025 on Thursday. Its terrible lad will eventually make his breakthrough, in my opinion, and you know what it implies for the alt season. People, it's coming. If you're asking, should you expect this market cycle and the price of XRP to go much higher? I'll tell you exactly what happened here, what caused all of this, and some of the most recent findings from several XRP chart experts. Yes is the response. XRP is barely above $3.07. The value of your Bitcoin is $115,570. However, Thursday did see some volatility, which isn't shocking to be honest. And why? Due to CPI. This is the CBS headline. As U.S. inflation increased somewhat in August, the CPI increased by 2.9%. Additionally, at first, the volatility was negative, which led to headlines like this one. Barron's is the source of this. Bitcoin XRP. As the cryptocurrency boom stops, Ethereum declines. Fed rate reduction is a priority following the CPI report. It didn't take long for things to shift here, so you should have waited for maybe 5 more seconds. Thus, the CPI has increased by 0.4% month over month. It was therefore higher than anticipated. It was predicted to be 0.3%. Thus, it is 0.1% higher. For the month over month, that is. However, the 2.9% year-over-year goal was actually met. You could say that it's a bit of a mixed bag, I suppose. To be honest, though, none of this is at all disastrous. However, the market reacted rashly to the news on Thursday morning and sold down, and at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, the news was released. Thus, there was a slight sell-off, but later in the day, all markets, including the stock market, rose higher. What made them sell then? As I mentioned earlier, it was a spontaneous response. However, there were worries that the Fed might be less inclined to lower rates the following week as a result of this news. To be honest, though, I believe the Fed should be focusing on the weak employment figures we've been seeing lately. You can therefore be sure that the Fed will lower interest rates the following week, and the market wants to see that. Strong expectations will increase the appetite for risk associated with assets. And if you visit the CMI website, you can see, take a look at this. They're still locked in here, and there's a good probability that some sort of rate drop will occur next week. Folks, it's still coming here, whether it's 25 or 50 basis points. And, chart analyst Dom posted this on Wednesday, the day before this new CPI data was released. Additionally, he's highlighting Total 2, which, excluding Bitcoin, is the top 125 currencies by market capitalization. There, you are examining altcoins. Additionally, he is examining the RTY ticker for the Russell 2000. Check out what he had to say here. Both RTY and Total 2 are making a third attempt to surpass their 2021 highs. Only when the Russell 2000 was likewise in expanding mode, small caps, did altcoins see expansion. We have previously discussed this. Both of them are currently in danger. That's why I'm drawing attention to this, people. They are truly in danger. And at these crucial levels, what we witnessed on Thursday only heightens the intensity. The Russell 2000 drew further nearer to its peak. And in my opinion, it will only be a matter of time, a brief period of time, I believe, before that thing happens. And there are several reasons for that, such as the fact that as global liquidity has grown, riskier assets, like Bitcoin, follow, usually with a slight lag of 3 months. In terms of direction, I would definitely anticipate that to continue. Otherwise, this period differs from the initial period in the history of cryptocurrency. Then we would have to discuss the unusual thing that's happening. However, since we're talking about probability, that doesn't seem at all likely. This is a post by Dark Defender on Thursday at 6:42 a.m. Thus, it is slightly less than an hour until the release of the CPI figures. He added that XRP is now breaching the first weekly resistance, and it most definitely was. Indeed, many analysts have been pointing that out, even in the days preceding this. And on my channel, I provided numerous examples of analysts emphasizing that. Simply said, it's crucial if you own XRP and very evident. Additionally, eGray Crypto has this post. This is 8 minutes after the news broke at 7:38 a.m. He added, "Nasty candle as of now, yet it was rapidly purchased." This is when the news broke, if you want to see what it looked like. As you can see, it appears as though the price of XRP abruptly plummeted, although that was only for 5 minutes. In other words, it decreased from $3.03 to about $2.99. After that, it increased a little before falling even further to bottom out at $2.98. The steepest fall then was that one. In any case, the CPI figures clearly showed that it was the steepest dip of the day. It is a fantastic match, and it just makes sense. Since then, however, we have simply been on an upward trend. It peaked at $3.07, and it was $3.07 on my screen, just before I pushed record. Thus, it's fascinating to watch all of this develop. An hour and 20 minutes after the CPI statistics, at 8:50 a.m., this post was made. According to the report from Crypto Insight UK, XRP is fighting hard at $3. Yes, and since then, it has increased even more. You will enjoy seeing it. If you're wondering why the price of XRP has increased, the market was anticipating something, received the data, and finally concluded after considering it that, yeah, this isn't so bad. Whether the Fed lowers the federal funds rate or not won't affect this. It simply won't. This is a post from Zoom's chart analyst. This is Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Thus, the data was released 2 hours later. At the moment, XRP is battling the $3 resistance. The $3.35 zone and the current all-time high zone are the following resistances if this is breached. This is an X-Force global post. He stated that XRP is still on track for $20 this cycle for both the primary and alternate concepts, 10 minutes after the data broke. Even if the morning's volatility was negative, he's still saying, yeah, no, it doesn't matter, since a new floor has been set for good. This cycle, $20 XRP. It doesn't make sense to believe that short-term price action, even if it is negative, is in any way harmful in relation to the idea of a higher time frame move for double-digit price action for XRP, in this case $20, on a longer time frame, because that is still the case. It would take some significant cratering well below what we've seen here for these analysts to say, okay, that invalidates my idea. To be honest, this is just typical volatility, and you'll likely continue to see opportunities for upward breakouts. This is one of the great Matt Speed's posts. It is 7:42 p.m. As you can see, there has already been a recovery at that moment, which is obviously more than 12 hours after the data breach. The great Matt Speed has been a supporter of double-digit price action for XRP this market cycle, and some of the analysts who have called for this have turned out to be right. XRP is currently at $3.05. And he stated, don't worry, XRP wants to play too. And he is targeting important fib levels here, including the top one, the 1.618, with XRP hitting $26.63. Not even a little bit will surprise me. Jevon Marks, a chart analyst, wrote this post. This was taken at 9:39 a.m. on Thursday. Thus, a few hours after that, the news was released. He clearly still thinks that's in the cards because XRP's current objective is still more than 55% off at the $4.80 level. This is a Crypto Wizard post. He said, XRP's time nears. This was in the afternoon following additional price activity, and it is clear that the market was already moving upward at the time. By the way, this is an XRP/ETH chart, which makes it a unique chart. He claims that although XRP's slide against ETH has followed a head and shoulders pattern, it appears to be done. Wait and see, but XRP will shortly surpass $3.65 and eventually $4.50. So with that same degree of hope, shouldn't it be shocking that XRP has lost value in relation to ETH in recent months? If this is all playing out, do you recall the pricing of Ethereum 5 or 6 months ago? In April, for example, after bottoming out near $1,400, it eventually reached a new all-time high. It was clearly oversold, meaning there was plenty of opportunity to catch up. Since XRP had already run at that point, it was only reasonable to assume that its value would decline in relation to ETH during that time. However, as I mentioned before, this will only happen until a day when it doesn't, as XRP still has a lot of catching up to do. We're simply waiting for a true alt season here, and just because it's been consolidating for most of this year after reaching its all-time high in January doesn't mean it hasn't got any juice left. There are indications of strength. After all, XRP finally reached $3.65 in July. So, people, we're not done yet. If these analysts are correct in predicting double-digit price action for XRP, don't be shocked. This post was made by chart analyst CW. It is 8:40 p.m. He claims that the XRP rise has officially resumed 11 hours, 13 hours, and 10 minutes after the news regarding the CPI data emerged on Thursday morning. A new trend is emerging as it separates from the convergence. He therefore thinks that this will continue, and this is the most pessimistic post on XRP that I could find. And to be honest, it's not even pessimistic. The problem is that there aren't enough analysts who are willing to risk everything to say, no, things are terrible for XRP. To begin with, Every analyst who has done that in the past year has ended up looking foolish. And to be honest, those are poor decisions. They are poor decisions. And since XRP moves in lockstep with the market, I don't trust you if you predict that anything will cause XRP to fall sharply, unless you think that's what will happen for the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. The foundations of XRP are stronger than ever. Therefore, it's not as though XRP will experience a special event that will lead to its decline. All of that is just nonsensical in this. It will not take place. People, if there is a black swan event, then that's okay, but it won't happen. It crumbles. The fine is accompanied by XRP. However, we aren't done enough if we don't have a black swan occurrence. Therefore, if the market rises, XRP will just follow along. The second rally in XRP's history is, the one in which it goes the furthest and sees the greatest price increase relative to the dollar or your preferred fiat currency. You drift sideways for, say, 6 months after having a large outburst. This is chart analyst Ali Martinez. In this instance, it has been a little longer than that, and you eventually do so in a second significant leg that is more remarkable than the first one in terms of US dollars. Here's the first of the two scenarios he mentioned for XRP. Break $3.05 and soar to $3.60, he says. He wrote this, incidentally, Thursday morning, an hour after that CPI data. And the second scenario is this: retrace to $2.80, break $2.90, and surge to $3.60. I hope he's correct because at least we're ahead of it now. Therefore, he's still saying, yeah, we're still getting back up to all-time high territory in any case. So once more, of all the chart analysts I've found today, it is the most pessimistic post. It's not even horrible that I followed that track, XRP. I don't think anyone else is clamoring for that, even if it does happen. However, even if that were to occur, he would still say, yeah, but then you just fly upwards anyway. This is a minority opinion. Therefore, this is the moment to be enthusiastic and fearless. Indeed, things will remain the same as they have for more than 16 years. There will still be a lot of volatility in the cryptocurrency market, but the majority of that volatility will be positive. The asset class continues to grow and trend upward. So everyone just relax. Neither the asset class nor XRP in particular is exposed to you. You either go or you don't go, I guess, when this thing happens. HODL is the only way to ensure that you have exposure or, that you receive those life-altering profits from XRP as it rises. Because even if you get a few wins, you're going to wind up ruining yourself if you attempt to time things, stay up with the market, and switch positions. Research continuously demonstrates that long-term investors outperform those who just hold for a long time in both the stock market and cryptocurrency. They perform better than people who, think of themselves as traders or who try to enter and exit positions in the belief that they are acting sensibly. It may be demonstrated that those who don't change their jobs end up earning significantly more money. So just to keep in mind, that does imply you have to put up with the bad things. Well, but people are capable of doing it. I've completed it. I've been holding XRP since November 17th, 2017, and I've never sold a single one. That's something you could do then. One may just state, I'm holding this for better or worse, no matter what. And that's exactly what I've done. There are just a few days when you have that really huge swing to the upside, and if you miss even one or two of those, you have destroyed yourself. That is a far better strategy than attempting to time the market. Why would you take that risk then? It simply isn't logical at all. I say HODL life, son. For that reason, I refuse to take the chance of ruining this opportunity, this potentially transformative one with XRP, by assuming I can outsmart the market. No, I'm winning because I'm just a regular guy doing regular things, and I'm just more patient than everyone else.